How good is it that we're here together? Isn't that true?
Welcome everyone. We will now invite Barbara Weinberg to light the Shabbat candles for us. Turn to page 2 for the blessing.
Okay, page 2, I need to go to page 2. Let's page 2. Show me.
Right here.
Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'chalik me'ashel shalom.
We're going to start with a song that's not in our prayer book. It's Olam Chesed Yivaneh. The words we are saying, we're saying Olam Chesed Yivaneh. We're going to start with that. Here's some Yahweh's from some English. We're going to start with Olam Chesed Yivaneh. Olam Chesed Yivaneh. Olam Chesed Yivaneh.
We will now turn to page 20 for Lachado D. We will sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and on the 9th verse, we traditionally face the opening, which is everywhere. But let's go ahead and face east for the setting sun. So page 20. I've been inside.
Shalom,
Lepadodi means come, my beloved, and is a request of a mysterious beloved that could either be God or our friends to gather in welcoming Shabbat. Welcome, friends. It's so good to be back together. We welcome all of you here at our beautiful temple, all of you online who are streaming. Welcome. You are so welcome. My name is Jane Grossman. For those of you I don't know, I have the honor of offering the welcoming tonight. What a blessing and a miracle on how quickly our rabbis and the leadership team pivoted to provide online services. Our committees kept meeting, we had online learning, and we really didn't miss a beat. Temple Sinai was alive and well during these very trying 15 months. Our rabbis, in case you're wondering where they are taking a very well-deserved evening off to be with their son Toby, who is having his bar mitzvah tomorrow. So to Rabbi Benjamin and Rabbi Sarah, and of course Toby, Mazel Tov. We miss you. We're happy you're home with family and friends. You can watch the bar mitzvah tomorrow at 10 o'clock on Temple Sinai's website, Facebook, or our YouTube page. I don't have to say it, but I will. This has been a trying 15 months for all of us. Many of us have lost family members and friends. Our loved ones who perished are among the nearly 600,000 Americans who've passed from COVID and almost 4 million people worldwide. This is unprecedented, what we're going through. Many of us lost jobs, lost income. Many have suffered from depression. Right now, we're watching the situation in the Middle East with trepidation and concern. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. But nevertheless, we, as Jews, are a resilient people. We are tenacious. We are resourceful. We are caring. Our religion commands us to do tzedakah and tikkun olam, and we've been doing that this whole year. Our history as a people is a history of survival against incredible odds. During this difficult time, many of us are reprioritizing what's very important. As we go forward and reopen Temple Sinai, I want to encourage each and every one of us to get even more involved in our temple community. Let's make this a spiritual home and a refuge from all of the challenges going on around us. Let's make this not just a place of worship, but a place of hope, of healing, of renewal, of learning, of fun, of being together in community. Let's do what's needed to create a real place of belonging for Jews from all different backgrounds in northern Nevada and beyond. Jews of color, Jews who have converted, LGBTQI Jews. Let's create a very big, welcoming tent sharing love and kindness. I believe that we are going to thrive in the challenging times ahead, not by circling our wagons, but by strengthening our connections to everyone in our community and to other Jewish communities in Nevada and other faith communities and to other minority groups who've also been targeted. We are stronger together. Let's celebrate being back in beloved community, face to face and over the internet. Let's reimagine and rebuild Temple Sinai stronger, more diverse, and more inclusive than ever. Lecha Dodi, come my beloved, let that be all of us in this community of belonging. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So I'd like you to take a minute and meet somebody that you might not know and share with them two things. What are you most grateful for right now? And what are you looking forward to as our society opens up a little bit more? So look around, find somebody you don't know so well, and just share, what am I grateful for, and what am I looking forward to doing?
I would not have recognized it. Sasha still got her red hair, so I didn't have
She'll be 7 in a couple of weeks.
to page 28 and stand and peace for Oral Food. Can you maybe see this and turn to page 30 for Michael Gorden.
If you remember, we have some hand motions for this song, so I don't know if any adults like to do hand motions, but if there's some kids that like to do hand motions, they're pretty simple. It starts with one of these. We're going to say roll into dark. This is dark down here. Roll into light. Night becomes day. Day turns to night. And we can sing together. Roll into dark. Roll into night becomes day. Night becomes day turns to night. Day turns to night. Roll into dark. Roll into light. Night becomes day. Day turns to night. Then the keepers in the middle of the page, Hooray, Yom Bahala, to sing a little bit. Hooray, Yom Bahala. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night, day turns to roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night.
And now, page 32 for Ahavat Olam.
chose a reading from Shabbat morning. It's on page 169 if you want to read along. Inspiration for prayer. It is not we alone who pray. All things pray. All things pour forth their souls. The heavens pray, the earth prays, every creature and every living thing prays. In all life there is longing. Creation itself is but longing, a prayer to the Almighty. What are the clouds, the rising and the setting of the sun, the soft radiance of the moon, and the gentleness of the night? What are flashes of human mind and the storms of the human heart? They are all prayers, the outpouring of boundless longings for God.
We now turn to page 34 for the Shema.
Turn to page 36. You can chant together.
Reading from on page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Simon's foot. That wherever we go, it is eternal Egypt, and there is a better place, a promised land. That's right. That we might be ready to that promised land, passes through crime and wilderness. That there is no way to get there, from here to get there, except by joining hands with all of us together, marching together.
Page 40 for Yism'zoom.
So we start with who is like you, Adonai. It's gonna sound like this. Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you? And then it builds, it goes on. Pause. We're gonna start over. Who is like Adonai? Adonai. Good. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you?
Ashkireno can be found on page 42.
The English we do is not in the book, but I'm going to feed you the words. Sorry. Shelter us beneath thy wings. Shelter us beneath thy wings. Oh, Adonai. Oh, Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things. Guard us from all harmful things. Oh, Adonai. Oh, Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night. Keep us safe throughout the morning light. Still we wait. Teach us who we wrong from right. Teach us who we wrong from. Oh, Adonai. Oh, Adonai.
The next reading is on page 45. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There's a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. Eternity utters a day.
You don't have to stand up yet. I'm just standing first. We're going to use those words that Stephanie just said for a song, and then it's going to lead us into the Amidah, which is when we're going to stand. But first, you can sing that. God has blown the marketplace. There is a song on the wind, and joy in the trees. God has blown the marketplace. Page 45. There's a song on the wind, joy in the trees. The cloud has arrived in the world, scattering a song, scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity honors a day, and eternity honors a day. We're going to stand, we're going to turn to page 46, and we're going to sing Adonai Sing. Adonai, Svatai, Svatai, Titaya, Ufi, Yaki, Tequila, Adonai, Svatai, Svatai, Titaya, Yaki, Tequila, Yadai. Chant a little starting on page 48, and then we're going to stop and we'll have a little bit of silence, and then we'll come back together on page 60 for the Shabbat Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagitor, Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'odei Hakol, Ve'zorer Hasne'avot Ve'imamo, Ve'ki'ula L'ifnei Ne'ehan, Le'ma'at Shalom, Ve'ahava, Melech Ozer Mashiach U'Malkin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. We're going to continue silently and come back to page 60. Shalom, be seated, please.
So for those in need of healing, recognizing them by name and my deep apologies for those whose names I mispronounce. We pray for the healing of Haran Bentova, Wendy Alderman, Danny Berger, Huma Bat Raquel Mariah, Stanley Gordon, Neil Kelber, Megan Carney Cleaner, Kamen Berry, Terry Gregory, Talia Guzman, Marlene Harris, Harvey Higdon, Katrina Ben Kareem, Robin Crow Levine, Tim Ober, Laurie Pattison, Judy Ramos, Shirley Rectovich, Sarah Batava. There's a lot of healing going on that we need. Maureen Schechner, Jessica Valdez, Israel, Deborah Bat Abraham Barasara, Ushar Zamet, everyone affected by the coronavirus.
And the Mishnah Barak may be found on page 253.
Take 1 second to see if there's any other names. If anybody is thinking of anybody, they want to give a name, you just shout it out.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's great to see everybody in person for, feels like it's been forever. So I'm going to offer just a few words of Torah right now, based on this week's Torah portion. So this week's Torah portion is Shlach Lecha, and it takes place during the Israelites wandering through the desert on their way from Egypt to the Promised Land. And the parsha begins with Moses sending out 12 scouts to the Promised Land. 2 sets of reports come back. Both reports confirm that the land is indeed flowing with milk and honey. But one of the reports, in fact, the majority report from 10 of the 12 scouts, says it would be too difficult to settle in the land, that the Israelites are not strong enough to do it, that the challenges are too overwhelming. The other report, by Caleb and Joshua, is much more optimistic. While recognizing the hard work ahead, Caleb and Joshua contend that the Israelites are indeed strong enough to do the hard work required to settle into the Promised Land. So, who do the Israelites believe? Well, they believe the majority report, the more pessimistic one. Upon hearing it, they lament their fate and proclaim, "If only we had died in the land of Egypt, let us head back to Egypt." This response very much angers God, who threatens to strike them with pestilence and disown them, as the text says. Though Moses does manage to talk God down, God does decree that none of the adults who left Egypt would live long enough to enter the Promised Land. Only the children, and Joshua and Caleb and their families, would enter the Promised Land. That's a pretty extreme consequence. A whole generation is not allowed to enter the Promised Land because they lacked vision about the possibility of a better future, because they were content with the status quo, or worse yet, filled with nostalgia of an imagined better path. I find the timing of this parsha to be very auspicious. Today is our first opportunity to gather together as a community in person in over 15 months. And just as the Israelites in this week's parsha are looking ahead to a new phase in their lives, so too are we. We have spent the last 15 months metaphorically wandering in the desert, though we were literally staying put. Just as the Israelites must have felt fear and uncertainty while they were in the desert, so too did we, as we managed anxiety, illness, job loss, and grief over the death of loved ones. Though the pandemic is still not over, just as the Israelites in our Torah portion are still in the desert, we can look ahead to the possibility of a promised land. However, we have to choose wisely what vision we have for that promised land. Though many of us might simply want to go back to life before the pandemic, I believe this week's Torah portion teaches us that would be a mistake. God did not take kindly to the Israelites who said they just wanted to go back to the way things were. So you might ask, what's wrong with going back to the way things were before the pandemic? Well, I believe the reason we shouldn't want a return to life exactly as it was has to do with what happened in the desert, both for the Israelites and for us. It was in the desert that the Israelites received the Torah, not in Egypt and not in the Promised Land, but during their wanderings, during their transition time. The same is true for us. During our transition time from the pre-pandemic era to whatever the post-pandemic world will look like, we have gained many insights and much wisdom about ourselves, about other people, and about the world. I invite you to think about what those insights have been for you personally, and I will reflect a bit on one of the insights we have acquired collectively. Last summer, as a country, we faced a reckoning about racial injustice after the death of George Floyd, a reckoning unlike any that I have seen in my lifetime. Though people of color in this country have been aware of the systemic racism that plagues all levels of our society, for the first time in my life, I have seen this awareness become mainstream. Surely, this awareness is Torah from a God who tells us, Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, justice, justice, you shall pursue. We have seen how the pandemic itself both revealed and exacerbated the economic, educational, and health inequities that exist in this country, inequities that are deeply rooted in racism and white supremacy. So what do we do with this Torah, this awareness that we have received in our wanderings through our version of the desert? As this week's Parsha tells us, we have two visions before us. One echoes the vision presented by the 10 scouts. That vision says, yeah, there's possibility for change, but it's too complicated, and it's not work for us to do. The way things are now is not so bad for us. Let's just be content with that. That's certainly the easier impulse, and in fact, most of the Israelites ended up choosing this vision. The other vision, the minority vision presented by Caleb and Joshua, recognizes that there is indeed hard work ahead, but also that we are up to the challenge, especially if we allow ourselves to be guided by the wisdom and strength we have acquired in the desert. God is very clear about which vision God endorses. God says to those who cling to the status quo, you will be left behind. You will not enter the promised land. A whole generation of Israelites was destined to die without entering the promised land because they clung to the status quo, because they longed for an imagined better past. However, those of us here and now who are facing the possibility of a metaphorical post-pandemic promised land, we can make a different choice. We can embrace a vision for a future that is informed by the insights, wisdom, and knowledge that we have received during the pandemic. Collectively, as a country, as a synagogue, and in other communities we are a part of, we need to let this Torah of justice guide us in our choices as we strive to make these places, our country, our synagogue, and the organizations we are a part of, more just, more welcoming, and more appreciative of divergent voices. Remember, it was divergent minority voices, those of Caleb and Joshua, that articulated the path forward to the promised land. And individually, we all have Torah, insights, wisdom, and knowledge particular to each one of us that we received during the pandemic. Maybe our individual Torah was about our relationships to family and friends, or our relationship to our jobs. Maybe it was about our health or our habits. Maybe it was about finding strength we didn't know we had. As we look ahead to what our future might hold, I encourage you to think about, what Torah did you learn during this pandemic? What impulses to hold on to the past do you have that you need to let go of? And what vision for the future can you embrace that is informed by the Torah that we have learned collectively and that has been given to you particularly? May we all, collectively and individually, follow the lead of Caleb and Joshua, who recognize the challenges ahead, but who are determined to make their hopeful vision of the future a reality. Shabbat Shalom. And now we turn to Aleinu, which is found on page 282, and we rise.
If you want, but we're just going to stand up and tell
So at this time, we honor those who have passed in our community. We have no recent deaths, and no deaths in the past 30 days. But we do have those who are in the first year of mourning. I'll read those names now. William Friedlander, Florence Conti, Sanford Arnold Eisenstadt, Joe Johns, Sherwin Sider, Arthur Ashkin, Uncle Laura Ashkin, Jack Robinson, stepfather Heidi Slater, Eddie Williams, beloved friend and mother by choice of Julie Stave Rosenberg, Pamela Walker, dear friend of Danny Berger, Barb McBrady, friend of Rabbi Sarah Zober, Mary Jane Ludwig, friend of Jill and Miles Reimer, Leah Kaplan, cousin of Philip Charlotte, Elizabeth Ruth Rassler, sister of Brad Rassler and sister-in-law of Jane Grossman, James Cross, friend of Linda Duthie, Peter Alsberg, closest friend and 40-year business partner of Andrew Wise, Eileen Jenkins, Ned Rosenthal, spouse of Arthur Jenkins and mother of Karen Jenkins, grandmother of Dean and Quinn Capoletta Jenkins, Selma Ford, mother of Jeffrey Ford, Steve Strauss, friend of Daryl and David Dworkin, Andrew Verratti, friend of Daryl and David Dworkin, Donna Matlis, mother of Steve Matlis, Charlie Perlman, cousin of Jane Grossman, Rabbi Michael Cook, teacher and friend of Rabbi Zober and Rabbi Emeritus Meyer Soifer, Sharon Perlman, daughter of Charlie Perlman and cousin of Jane Grossman, Mildred Willie Small, aunt of Gail Yella Small, Alan Debro, cousin of Steve Meyerson, and William Levick, husband of Linda Levick. And now we have some yard sites also to acknowledge. David Mitchell, Jean W. Fenton, my father and grandfather to Uncle Rick. Mitchell Shauna Plodney, brother of David Plodney. Frances Schumer Safer, mother of Gary Schumer. Helen Brustein, grandmother of Marilyn Roberts. Albert Langer, grandfather of David Langer. Annie Rubin, Julius Ashkin, father of Laura Ashkin. Andrew M. Novick, cousin of Gary Schumer. Shirley Silverman, mother of Sharon Chabro. Rebecca Eliasberg, Morris Minkoff, grandfather of Natalie Alderman. Nathan Nussbaum, Annette Redkovitz, sister-in-law of Jules Redkovitz, and aunt of Jay Redkovitz. And Ronald Small, brother of Gail Yola Small. Are there other yard sites that we should be acknowledging? Go ahead.
Yes, my mother is a Holocaust survivor.
Others? Up there?
My second James Cross.
Continuing on. Okay. So we say together on page 294. Yikadal, Yikadal, Shavei Rabah, Ve'alad, Yirad, Yirtei, Ve'alit, Malkutei, V'chayevon, V'yokavon, V'chayei, Kavon, V'Yisrael, V'alad, Mizman, Karim, V'Yimru, Amen. Yehei, Shavei Rabah, V'Orah, V'Yikra, V'Yisrael, V'Yikar, V'Yikman, V'Yiknaseh. V'Yizadar, V'Yizalel, V'Yizalal, Shnei, V'Yisham, V'Yiklam, V'Yikol, V'Yilata, V'Shirata, Tushvatata, V'Yekmatah, Na'adiran, V'Yamam, V'Yimru, Amen. V'Yehei, Shabbat Rabah, V'Yishmaya, V'Yayim, Amen, V'Yakol, Yisrael, V'Yimru, Amen. Osei Shalom, V'Yirama, V'Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu, V'Yakol, Yisrael, V'Yimru, Amen.
Just sometimes
temple announcements. Again, thank you all so much for being here. My name is Toba. I'm a temple board member. We have some other temple board members peppered around tonight. I hope that we get to meet many of you. I have gotten the question a couple times. Does this mean that we're open? Does this mean we're having in-person services right now? To that I say, welcome to the soft opening. So consider yourselves VIPs, but this does not necessarily mean that next week we will be in person as well. Please stay tuned to our temple websites and newsletters for official announcements about proper reopening. We are in the season of the name mitzvot. Tomorrow will be the bar mitzvah of Tobias Iser, the son of our rabbis, Benjamin and Sarah Zober. Mazel tov to that. Monday, the temple is closed for a well-deserved administration day. Wednesday evening is a board meeting. We are still meeting by Zoom. I believe the link is available through the temple websites. For those newer members joining us tonight, and for the old members, please remember that you are always invited to drop in and attend a board meeting. We would love to see you and hear from you. And let's see, moving into next Friday, June 11th, there will be Top Shabbat, and as far as I know, our regular Kabbalat Shabbat service will be again by live stream, and then we have more back-to-back B'nai Mitzvot. Cooper Garrett will be that following Shabbat, and then Michael Gorden will be after that. One little change in the previous calendar, the men's club meeting previously scheduled for Sunday the 13th has been canceled. I think that is all I have for announcements. Unless there's anything. That's right, I almost forgot. Welcome to Shabbat Unplugged. So we're going to finish our service tonight, do a little cleanup, and then for anybody who would like to stay, we will stay and sing and jam and enjoy each other's company. So if you do not have to rush off, you are all welcome and invited to stick around and share in some music. Thank you so much, Gail, for reminding me.
So I'm Stephanie Fenton, and it's nice to see all of you, and really nice to have everybody who's live streaming as well. First, I just want to thank the group of people who put this together. It's the Shabbat Unplugged Committee. Jane and Gail really did the lion's share of the work, with Ignacio and Tova and Barbara all helping as well. And we are so glad to see Toby in person. Yeah. So also special thanks to Michael Gorden, who both symbolically and actually is holding up the temple. So there's something rather special about a community of people who jump in and do the things that have been done here, not only before the pandemic, but during the pandemic. Jane's right, this place did not miss a beat, and that is a pretty remarkable thing. And special thanks to our rabbis for their brave and heartfelt leadership through all the technology triumphs and tribulations of the past 15 months. And this place really does rely on people who literally and spiritually hold up the building like Michael is now. So jump in, there's plenty to do. There's always a place for anybody who wants to spend an hour or spend a little time or a lot of time on one of the committees or organizing anything. And I just have to say, one of the things that I realized was it felt when I saw Ignacio particularly like no time had passed. And yet when I saw little Arlo here, I realized that a lot of time had passed because he's now like a whole person walking and dancing and doing all these fun things. So certainly 15 months was a long time, and it is so good to be back here. So just ending where we began. So Gail is just whispering in my ear, as Gail often does in such a good way. If it is your first time here at Temple Sinai, we want to give you a very, very special big welcome.
And if you wouldn't mind just saying who you are, stand up and just say your name so we can just greet you by name. What's your name?
I'm Michael. This is Eliana. My wife apologizes she couldn't make it because of
Oh,
and the little boy's wandering around somewhere.
It's right here. Wonderful. Well, welcome. And what about you guys? You sat back down? Frank.
I'm Maddie.
Frank.
Hi.
Hi. And I'm Pam. My husband Jim. This is. Hello, nice to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Ben.
And you are? Hello. Very nice to have all of you here. Thank you so much for joining us. So just to end where we started, when we started this together, we all just met somebody we didn't know, and we thought about something we were grateful for. Just take a minute to reflect on just the one thing you picked out. Just 1 minute here now. What was the one thing that you said you were grateful for? I know that one. So the one, I'm grateful for so many things, and in the time of this pandemic, so many simple things that I took for granted. But one thing that's not so simple that I was grateful for before, and I'm still grateful for now, is this amazing temple community. So thank you, all of you who make this place happen, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Page 353, 356. Lord, Yahweh Shalom. Lord, Yahweh Shalom Aleinu. 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 Lord, Yahweh Shalom Aleinu.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So, as Stephanie said, we will now have a little transition moment, and then we will come back for a sing-along. So we invite you to stay with us if you would like to sing along. Oh, can you bring the prayer books back, if you would, please, to the cart.
Anybody's feeling like they want to move some chairs? You can move them inside.
Dude, what's up? without moving towards, just so we have some for what we're relaxed in. But using it for flex.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We love how eager everybody is to help her. We will need some chairs. So those of you who are putting a couple out, I think you have the right instinct. Feel free to feng shui to the room and redecorate however you think we need. So let's pull it in a little closer. Let's be friends.
Okay, so keeps who leave, shall raise set it, abova, odeya. A few minutes ago, keeps who leave, shall raise set it, shall raise set it, abova, abova, odeya, odeya. Keeps who leave, shall raise set it, shall raise set it, abova, odeya, abova. Shall Another version of Odiabo Shalom Aleinu. It starts off with this part. It goes like this. Hey ho, 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 hey ho,
We're having tank when you're already holding the place up.
Still got I know Carol's
Carol, say hi,
So
Carol.
at least need to do 2 more songs.
Hi, Carol.
We all live on our own mountain, so we all live on our own mountain, so my mountain to your mountain to my mountain so high. My mountain to your mountain to my mountain so high. I'm calling you. Okay, one more. No, we have 2 more. Well, I think this is going to be great. Oh, my life. Oh, my whole life. It's all I can hold to control. Oh, let my life live for the good of my soul and let it bring peace. Sweet peace, peaceful come. Peace will come, let it begin. Let it begin with me. Let it begin with me. Oh, my own life. It's all I can go to control. Oh, let my life live for the good of my soul, and let it bring peace. Sweet peace will come. Let it begin. Let it begin with me. Shalom, 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 yavo, she'atzil, she'atzil, oh, my own life is all I can hold to control. Oh, let my life live for the good of my soul, and let it bring peace. Sweet peace, peace will come. Let it begin with me. Let it begin with me. Let it begin with me. Sweet mother, I'm coming. Now I know I'm not alone. somehow. What went wrong will soon be right. Oh, mother, please hold me tight. Tell me, mother, can you hear me say, your love is everything. Heart and soul, breath and skin. Your love is everything. Your love is everything. Your love is everything. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
That's not bad.